Fast forward, any come our channel is IGP Politics Avenue. Podcast source trending book is making headlines. And a gem ready to be action. Need him young Raxim. Mr. Say Yambo and Ryan Simona, Yedo, AKwatia, Unia, and the Ecoso Hono and Yasam Kosak say IGP man home so anti-me beef up a year. Police personnel and Boha come here say no bit me agency because you say election day. Senka basa you be bit me about nesenki free bear no me and 9 inumbo econo. But in Tia say a year NDC party office ewo AKwatia nipa baako and yensa etumi akano ewo ha eye police for etumi de nakwache black Mǎyhěm na ninga na say basa you be ekoso ewo ho one person arrested and placed in a designated black Mǎyhěm box next say ohwa na oye bibi pote wo ho a ensem fata ida say tokwa anase bia basa you be eno ene abatuo no embo ebra yemo rasim no ne hwe ne yakoni de ba ha AG's Politics Avenue but that's what jemre ewa
is able to contain the situation. It doesn't get worse than we saw. But remember that we'll also be joined by our colleague Martin Esiedudate, who will be bringing us the statistics and some data.
Well, certainly. And of course, we've also been on the ground picking some intel from leading members of the various parties, the NPP and the NDC. Let's take a very quick listen, though, to the Member of Parliament for AKwatia North, Sammy Wuku.
And I'm confident. So we spoke to Nanabi and Salam. Yeah, and then you are also important partakers of the process. So when you also see something, you also prompt the security personnel and the agencies that this is what is happening, so they can also. And I'm confident. So we spoke to Nanabi and Salam. Yeah, and then you are also important partakers of the process. So when you also see something, you also prompt the security personnel and the agencies that this is what is happening, so they can also act. They may not see everything happening.
Again, that was Member of Parliament for AKwatia North, Sammy Wuku, there giving his bite on what is happening or what has transpired so far. But let's also take you back in time to some fracas that ensued over some dispute over posters being removed. It's alleged by some NDC members in AKwatia that they had some NPP supporters who had come very close to the NDC office, which is actually not too far from the NPP office in the area, to foment trouble. That, of course, is the account of the NDC members or supporters who were in the area. Swiftly after that, we saw the police swoop in to take away a suspect. But Beatrice Addo is on standby with her panel of guests to get some reactions on what has happened so far and to, of course, expand the tentacles of the conversation. And Beatrice, as we know, it's a fierce competition today between the NDC and the NPP. And by all accounts, it could be anyone's game today.
Indeed, and I always say that AKwatia seems to be like the Lejikuku and Krowa in Accra, where the people there don't want to keep anybody for a second term. In fact, we've only had in that history of AKwatia from 1992 just a candidate getting seats twice. That was an NPP candidate, and of course during the administration of the former president John Akuffo. Aside from that, all other candidates have just had just a single chance, and so it's very obvious, and even with the data that we've seen so far from polls, that this is going to be a very highly competitive election. And Helen, I'm sure you remember that pollster Musa Dankwa in a poll or survey just in April, he mentioned that the NPP was leading by some 4%. And then just on the 27th to 28th, the survey that came, that is of August, we saw a change.
That's right.
Yes, so it tells you that really there are a number of factors that are at play as we go into, or we've actually entered this very election, and hopefully by close of poll after 5 p.m. we should be getting an idea regarding who will be going to Parliament on behalf of the AKwatia constituents.
Absolutely, and what the numbers will look like after today, not too significant for either the NDC or the NPP, but by all accounts, both parties say today, not today. Beatrice, over to you.
Yes, and this is still your Election Command Center. I do have on the panel with me Professor Enoch Enchi. He's a governance expert. Prof, it's always great to see you. Good morning.
Beatrice, it's always a great pleasure to be here, especially when it is time for by-election like this and the tensions are high, the people have been given raw meat at the grassroots, and this is not a time for us to funnel violence, because violence is local. It has a face. And anybody who stays in AKwatia, everybody knows you. So those who will come to your place and then fuel violence, once they leave, everybody knows your home and it will continue. That is why it is not prudent, it is not wise that you start violence in an election like this. We learn democracy from other countries. And what happens in those who are the forerunners of democracy is that quietly you are in a line, you go vote, and you go home and wait for the results. So I think that is what we should be learning towards, because we cannot mend our constitution and then our democracy with violence. That is not the way to go.
Indeed. I also do have with us Mr. Ebo Duncan. He is... Ebo Bachman, he is with the Movement for Change there. It's great to have you as well.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be here. TV3 has become our home. and you guys are doing a wonderful work. I mean, so far, the covering you've had this morning shows how prepared you are to let Ghanaians know the truth, what is happening on the ground. And I think it is good for our democracy if we carry our people along to understand what is really happening, and also for those who are interested, in our democracy beyond our borders, to know exactly what is happening in our country. It is good, except to say that the stakes are high, and so some of the things we've seen this morning are normally things that are associated with by-elections. We don't expect these things to escalate, but and I also like the way police has been able to calm down tempers in this particular, the latest video that we saw. I don't think it's something that we should be seeing in other polling stations.
Indeed.
I mean, this is by-election that, as Helen said, if NDC means it's not going to add anything significant in terms of numbers and what the numbers can do for them. If you consider the fact that they already have a
supermajority in Parliament,
and NPP has the micro minority already.
Well, they said mighty minority. We heard the former Vice President say
I remember if you go to some of the schools, you can't go to infantism and hear great infantism or mighty infantism, or Gasco, my school, and hear great or Gasco. But if you go to some of the village schools, you hear great this, mighty this. So normally, it's an inferiority complex that will cause a political party to now call itself mighty. And so, yeah, we are just hoping that we're going to have a very smooth elections. I mean, this shouldn't be a do or die affair. It's just one seat that. The point is that this election transcends AKwatia. Its importance transcends AKwatia, because it's like the ruling government wants to win.
1469 of the 1992 Constitution removed the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Tukono, from office with immediate effect. These are the opening lines of a statement just coming through from the presidency. And it goes on to give some detail that this follows receipt of the report of the committee constituted under Article 1466 to inquire into a petition submitted by a Ghanaian citizen, Mr. Daniel Ofori. After considering the petition and the evidence, the committee found that the grounds of stated misbehavior under Article 1461 has been established and recommended her removal from office. Under Article 1469, the President is required to act in accordance with the committee's recommendation. That is some breaking news coming through right now from the presidency. This is a statement signed by Phyllis Kwachofosu. He is the Minister in charge of Government Communications. The breaking news coming through is that the President, John Dramani Mahama, in accordance with Article 1469 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana has removed the Chief Justice. Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki took on from office with immediate effect. That's the emphasis. And this takes immediate effect. That's some breaking news coming through right now. This is a journey, the destination as we're seeing now, but a journey that has been ongoing. We've been going through this at least for the number of months gone by. But right now, this is the decision by the committee that was established under Article 146, and their recommendations have just been made known in the statement by the presidency. And it is on the basis of that, the recommendation of this committee, that the president has taken this decision to remove the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Tukono, from office. This is the breaking news coming through right now here on TV3, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on 3FM 92.7. Dennis Pabewadam Esquire is with me right now, and we're going to get into it. Dennis, this is one that we've been on for quite a while. We started this journey months on, and this is the decision as per the committee as given by the president.
Rightly said, Alfred, and this is coming just few hours after the president received that particular report from the Justice Kwamang led committee, which sat on this particular case. They've indicated what has gone through, the committee has gone through, and what came before them, and how they arrived at that decision that they've arrived at. Except we are not told in detail what is contained in that particular report, but to the extent that the presidency is now reporting, based on that particular report, it can be reasonably inferred that it is the recommendation of this committee that the Chief Justice be removed. But Alfred, what is important to know is the basis for which the presidency indicates as the reason for the removal of the Chief Justice. When you look at Article 1461 of the 1992 Constitution, it provides the grounds for the removal of a Chief Justice or a Justice of the Superior Court of Judicature. And that particular article says that a Justice of the Superior Court or a chairman of a regional tribunal, in this case, the Chief Justice being a Justice of the Supreme Court, shall not be removed from office except for stated misbehavior or incompetence or on ground of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body and mind. Alfred, we do know that some persons have petitioned the president in respect of matters relating to what they say are stated misbehavior of the Chief Justice, for which they wanted the president to constitute a committee to look into.
That's right.
We have seen how we have gone through the whole process of the president together with the Council of State as stipulated under Article 146, having to determine whether or not those petitions themselves even merit the constitution of a committee to look into what is popularly referred to as prima facie case. That had been determined, a committee established, and subsequent to that, the president together with the Council of State again, invoking the provisions of Article 146, suspending the Chief Justice, and beginning the process to hear the petitions. We understand the report today has to do with one of the three petitions, and that is the Daniel Ofori petition, in which the petitioner himself had led 13 witnesses came before the committee to testify in respect of that. To her defense, the Chief Justice, 12 witnesses also came, including expert witnesses, to also testify in her defense. The end is that they've made their recommendations, and the president, having an obligation to act in accordance with the recommendations of that committee, has now gone ahead to to remove the Chief Justice from office. Alfred.
And it's a very, very, very fluid, detailed situation that we're following quite closely. This is breaking news. If you're just joining us here on TV3, also on 3FM 92.7, the breaking news, as we've been just giving to you, is that the president, John Dramani Mahama, has, in accordance with Article 1469 of the 1992 Constitution. We're going to go into the specific detail, Dennis, of Article 1469, because that also gives the exact powers that the president has exercised right now. now, and putting it in context that it is upon the recommendation of this particular committee's report that the president has taken this decision based on Article 1469 of the 1992 Constitution. He has removed the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Tokono from office with immediate effect. This follows the receipt of the report of the committee constituted under Article 1466 to inquire into a petition submitted by a Ghanaian, and then is, as you just mentioned, Daniel Ofori's petition. So that clearly indicates that it is specifically Daniel Ofori's petition that the committee found the merits in to make that particular recommendation on the grounds of stated misbehavior, which is one of three.
That is right. Because we heard the chairman of the committee earlier indicate why it is only the Daniel Ofori petition and not the two, because he explained that the petition and the second petition, together with the lawyers for the Chief Justice, had indicated they wanted an adjournment in respect of those petitions, for which that adjournment was granted. So they just had to deal with the Daniel Ofori petition, and then the two are still pending. However, as it is now turning out, it does appear that those petitions may never be heard again, because what will be the end goal again? So that's the information that we're just gathering. And Alfred, if you would oblige me, let's go back into memory lane, just to see how things have panned out over the period, knowing very well that these three petitions are not the only petitions that have come the way of the former Chief Justice, if I may not call her so, in respect of persons who were seeking her removal. We do recall that as far back as January 6th, just a day before the previous administration left office, the president had rejected petitions for the removal of the Chief Justice then, describing him as being deficient. But fast forward to March and the new administration, three petitions, including the one we are now discussing now, for which a report has been submitted, and the president acting on that particular report were also submitted to the Council of State. The president went ahead, together with the Council of State again, invoking the powers given to the President and the Council of State under Article 146 to suspend the Chief Justice. Then a 5-member committee was put together that was chaired by Justice Scott Palmer to look into the merits of that particular matter.
Then I need to hold on a bit there on that 5-member committee's establishment, because it is on the basis of this committee's recommendation that the President has taken this decision. And we have a video, in fact, that captures that moment that the chair of this 5-member committee, Justice Gabriel Scott Palmer, presented this report of the committee, this 5-member committee, to His Excellency the President, John Dramani Mahama. Let's take a look at that video right now. Just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, in March this year, you received 3 petitions pursuant to Article 146 of the Constitution 1992 for the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Saki Tokono, and the public was made aware of these facts. Subsequent processes dictated by the Constitution and the decisions of our Supreme Court were gone through, culminating in the establishment of our committee under Article 146, Clause 6 of the Constitution. The nation was further duly informed, and when we commenced our work on the 15th of May 2025, the Minister of State for Government Communications was briefed and notified the public about it. There has been considerable interest in our work, shown through comments and opinions by Ghanaians and international observers as well. However, the committee restrained itself all along from reacting, even when blatant false statements were made about members of the committee and our work.
Unia we nsema hore timi ko so channel no so no aso jemre da sene so bad ye no e dia dum bi adumenia ye monro mai na yensan enso mo kwanso ko so bra ha GH Politics Avenue.